Machinedrum has been killing it for years now, killing it. So many great albums under his belt up until this point. You've got Rooms, you've got Vapor City. In particular for me, I think Vapor City is his best album, the best I've heard from him thus far. And it's time he got the recognition he bloody deserves, because he is a great artist and he is putting out consistently very good music over and over and over again. So why not review this new album here, because it's another great album in addition to the rest of his already great albums. Machinedrum right now is kind of filling in the gap that Disclosure has sort of left. Like, the gap is that big, Disclosure are filling up about that much, but then the rest of it is being filled up by Machinedrum, because that spot that needs to be itched is being very much itched, being scratched to death by what Machinedrum is doing on here. The use of, you know, garage influences, house influences, drum and bass, just everything that you can think of is being hit on this album, and Machinedrum is killing it. And I do like what Disclosure have done recently. They have a lot of great tracks, but they're just not really hitting it like their debut. That debut had just such a vast amount of variety, and I feel like this is the sort of 2020 version of that, where you've got, you know, guest rap features, you got R&B type tracks, like I've already said, the atmospheric drum and bass, garage. You've just got everything piled into one album here, and there isn't anything that feels out of place, despite the fact that there is a vast amount of variety. You've got the features that work in so bloody well. Right from the get-go, Rochelle Jordan adds some really lovely vocals to the opening track, and that dirty bass, dirty stinking bass coming through on that track is ridiculous. It's one of those tracks that you probably really need like a huge speaker system to sort of get the most out of it, because I guess just playing in your headphones or your earphones or whatever might not be the best experience, but even still, it's a great track. I like from there we're instantly taken in a different direction with Star, which is way more atmospheric and dreamlike, which totally makes it seem like you are just walking in the middle of the night and the stars are popping out in the way that they do on a really clear sky. It's such a comfy sounding track, and yeah, sure, the beat does kind of like intensify at certain points, but it never really feels too heavy or anything like that. It's just the right amount. It's just nice, you know, the porridge isn't too cold, the porridge isn't too hot, it's just right. You do have other tracks like this throughout the album too. I mean, we've got the Father feature, who's bringing in this smooth R&B vibe, which I think absolutely is a killer moment for the album, because usually this guy raps. He's done a rap album in the past, but this time around he's kind of giving us some some cloud rap type stuff, where he's sort of like giving us more of a vibe over the instrumental than anything else. I feel like the best way I can describe this track, and I don't even know if this is even accurate, but just think of someone like Sampha on a Drain Gang track, and I feel like you've got this here. It's not quite that, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's almost like that. Idea 36 has got Oneohtrix Point Never vibes with the really like abstract sounding instrumental, but it's so glossy in the production and it's so shiny that I'm just super impressed at how, again, this fits on this album when there isn't really anything else like it. But the flow of the album is just a match. Like, there isn't a drop in quality at any point, even though you're getting such a variety of different ideas. It's impressive as hell. There's not many artists out there doing this at the moment, I don't think. Especially with previous albums like Vapor City, which is just consistent as hell throughout. You're just getting that atmospheric drum and bass from start to finish. There's no surprises thrown in. There's no detours or anything like that. It's just, you know what you're getting from the beginning to end, and it's great from start to finish. Whereas this album is like a surprise constantly. You don't know what you're getting from each track, and yet still equally as consistent somehow. Kane Train, one of the biggest surprises of the year. Freddie Gibbs collaborating with Machinedrum was such a shock to me when I saw it happen. one of the best rap songs this year's given. Honestly, this is one of the best verses I think Freddie's delivered ever. Like, his feature here is fantastic, and I've said for ages, he's a feature king. He's a feature king. Every feature he puts in there, he kills it. Those like horn samples that come through are instantly smile inducing with the honestly, has such a timeless feel to it that I wouldn't be surprised if this, in a few years, will sound exactly as good as it does the first ever time you hear it. It is just that good of a track. And it's weird to think that it came on a Machinedrum album. A Machinedrum album. Look, I've been following this guy for a little while now. I just never thought I'd see Freddie Gibbs on a Machinedrum album. It's just baffling to me. What's even worse is that he's not even that big of a name. So there are hip hop heads out there that probably won't even hear this song because they just would have no reason to check out Machinedrum, but they would absolutely adore this track. And I think they'd be on my side in saying that it is one of the year's best hip-hop songs. And if he hadn't flexed on us hard enough up until this point, he decides to enlist Tigran Hamasyan, who I mentioned in my August video roundup, who dropped a jazz album this year, which is really good, you should check it out, and somehow manages to combine the jazz elements of his music with Machinedrum's heavy electronics, and it makes for such a blissful track. It really is lovely. The bloody piano that comes in on this one is stellar. Both artists kill it, and the way they bring together these worlds is so seamless that it makes me think that they could probably do a full album like this and it would be a pretty stellar release. Believe in You has a fantastic vocal chanting sample, which is backed up by the hype as fuck production. Definitely one of the biggest bangers on the album, and it just keeps going from there, because towards the end we have more of the bangerness. We have more of those bangers with the Major Lazer type track coming on the penultimate song of the album, which definitely needs like a vocal feature, because it would straight up be like a Major Lazer hit, I think, if it had a vocalist on this track. Maybe we're a few years behind on that though, because Major Lazer was definitely bigger in the mid-2010s than he is now, but maybe he's due a comeback, and this is the type of song he needs. I think the best, most essential drum and bass type track on the whole thing though is 1,000 Miles, which features Sub Focus. This one is just straight to the point. It knows what it is, but from start to finish, it is a belter. It's just an absolute belter. The way this album keeps you on your toes, every track delivering something slightly different, is remarkable. It's something to behold, and could end up being one of the most overlooked albums of the year, because again, not many people are really looking out for this type of album really, or maybe even this type of music. I don't know, but the production is so on point throughout, and really needs more people listening to this guy, because again, he has a really consistent discography, lots of great gems in there, and this new one I think is just an addition to that, with the most variety he's ever packed in on an album too. It's crazy, but it's super impressive, and I've got to go 8 out of 10. Definitely one of the best albums I've heard all year. Hopefully you check it out and you agree with me on that as well. Thank you for watching this review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on this album if you've heard it already. Check it out if you haven't. Please check it out. Have a good day, subscribe, and goodbye.